Chris Wilder's Sheffield United rebuild has been unbelievable. They've won the most points in the Championship. They're looking really good, but I'm going to discuss whether it's sustainable and whether they'll stay up there. So as I say, in the summer, there was about 16 players that left. That included, the likes of Max Lowe, who's now gone to Sheffield Wednesday, didn't really want to play for the club. And then the likes of Tyrese Campbell, Callum O'Hare have come into the club. And there's been, 5 to 7 million spent. Sheffield United have also gone through a whole tactical restructure. Obviously, Chris Wilder in his first spell, got them promoted with a 5-2-1-2 formation, and then in the Premier League played that 5-3-2. But himself and assistant manager Alan Neil have done wonders, revolutionising the tactic to this fluid 4-2-3-1 pressing formation. And let's just have a word on Chris Wilder, because wherever he's been, for the most part in his career, he's been successful. He got Oxford promoted to the EFL from non-league. He got Northampton promoted from League 2 to League 1. He got Sheffield United 2 promotions in 3 seasons, and then a 9th place finish in the Premier League. And then he had a couple of spells which made his stock go down. He was at Middlesbrough, did really well, got them potentially into the playoffs, so I think they might have just missed out. And then he had a ropey start to the next season, he got sacked, and then Carrick got Middlesbrough to the playoffs. And then after that spell, he decided to go to Watford and try and save their season, and it didn't work, and he's admitted basically that he regretted going to the club. And now he's at his boyhood club, Sheffield United. The fans are very happy that he's back, and he's doing a very good job. The club are currently potentially going under new ownership. A US consortium are looking into buying them, which will be interesting, especially with January coming up. And the key goal was to get players into the club who wanted to play. There was a few old guard like Ollie Norwood who didn't quite have it in him. As I've mentioned, Max Lowe just didn't really play like he wanted to be at the club. And now we've got younger players like Gilchrist on loan and Rak-Sakyi, and then Callum O'Hare coming in, joining his former best mate, Gus Hamer. Kiefer Moore's been brilliant, and there's a complete new identity to the team. And that really showed this weekend when Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 at Bramall Lane. You could just get a sense around the ground that things have changed. So let's talk about the tactics a little bit and how they've done so well. So it's a 4-2-3-1 shape. In defence, when the opposition have the ball, it's a 4-4-2. As you can see, it's quite clear. The attacking midfielder jumps into that front line with the striker. The 2 wingers form a line with the 2 CDMs, and then it's a flat back 4. The general structure of it is that each player has a player which they need to be marking or blocking passing lanes for. So those front 2 that you can see there, they usually end up trying to push the opposition out wide by blocking passes through the centre to the opposition CDMs, or Rak-Sakyi on the right wing will be tracking their left back, trying to make sure that he can't play through the middle or out wide or wherever their biggest threat is, and it works really, really well. And when the Blades have the ball, usually it's a 4-2-3-1 which transitions into a 3-2-5, as you can see right now. Burrows likes to push forward at left back, he's usually playing there, and then Gilchrist, who usually starts, is a bit more of a defence first right back. He'll sit and he'll more be looking for passes opposed to running into the box or out wide. And then it's Vini Souza and Arblaster who have started most games this season in the pivot. Usually they sit off passing options for the centre-backs and the full-backs, and it's usually quite a simple game what they'll play. Now, as the players are gelling with each other more and learning the system better, there are slowly some idiosyncrasies that are popping up in the way that they play. Now, the first one which I want to highlight is against Luton. As you can see, it's a 3-2-5 shape. Ahmed Hodzic is basically in a left-back position with Sutor anchoring the defence and Gilchrist at right centre-back. And because Luton were so structured and blocking a lot of passing lanes, Ahmed Hodzic saw the space to run down the line, and he did. And as you can see, there's Brewster and O'Hare hugging the touchlines for the Blades, which means that the Luton defence is stretched, which gives Ahmed Hodzic that space, and it gives us space to pass the ball around a bit more. You can see Kiefer Moore there supporting it, and by doing this, Ahmed Hodzic bypassed Luton's midfield, and it meant that we had more of an attacking threat. And then the next point which I want to mention is one that Chris Wilder and Alan Neil have always gone for, especially with the Blades. Whenever I've saw them play, there's always been overloads out wide. It's a way to get into the half spaces, build up play into the boxes, and get passes to the edge of the box or crosses into the box. And as you can see, there's 3 or 4 players out wide there. They were interchanging play there in this situation. Arblaster's a bit further back on the right hand side as a pivot. If need be, the players can pass back to him and he can whip in a cross or carry on the play down that right hand side and join in. Or if the opposition win the ball back, he's there to block the runs. And then there's always a couple of players in the box attacking the space, making sure that the centre-backs aren't too comfortable, and it also means that the opposition can't drag out too many players to try and control the overload which the Blades have created. And during this move, Vini Souza actually ended up hitting the post because the Blades worked the ball inside. The Luton players, a lot of them were on the outside, which meant that there were gaps in the box, and it was a very unlucky moment not to score. Let's get to the cold hard facts. 10 Let's get to the cold hard facts, which is why Sheffield United are doing so well. 10 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses in their away to Borough and Leeds. 104 goals conceded last season, only 7 so far this season in 15 matches. I've got 2 main worries for the Blades. That's the squad depth. There's not a huge amount. There's not even really a registered left wing at the club. It's been Gus Hamer or O'Hare playing there, or Brewster a little bit. Apparently Arblaster is potentially out for a bit. It's currently the international break, but that could be quite a bad situation if he's out for a bit, because that means it's just Rak-Sakyi and Vini Souza in the pivot, and potentially Tom Davies if he's back. But with the new ownership coming in, there might be some players signed in January, so it might not be too bad. But my other main concern is coming up against attacking teams. The 2 losses, as I say, have been against Leeds and Middlesbrough. They also drew 2-2 against Norwich earlier on in the season, and that was potentially one of the worst performances of the season as well. And luckily the Championship isn't exactly as strong as it was last season, where there was the likes of Leicester and Southampton as well. But when the Blades are coming up against tough teams who put them, backs to the wall, there is a part of me which feels like they can't quite handle it. It's like they're getting PTSD from last season in the Premier League, where Arsenal got 5 past them after about 20 minutes. Obviously it's something where the team's developing, the management are also learning how to use some of the new signings better. The likes of Tyrese Campbell has really kicked on in the last month or so. But if these are the main weaknesses for the Blades, squad depth and coming up against really good teams, quite frankly, I feel like it's sustainable with how they're playing. And the thing is, the 4-2-3-1 is such a universal system. There's such nuances which you can have with it. Half the Premier League play it, half the Championship, if not more, play it. And the deciding factor is the tactics within it, how the players move, the passing structures, and also the individual quality within there, because Blades can let Vini Souza basically have free roam at the centre of the pitch when we're attacking, and usually if we lose the ball, we know that he's going to be there to cover it and potentially intercept it back, because we've got elite players in certain positions for the Championship. The likes of Gus Hamer, he can create chances on his own, which means that sometimes opposition will be doubling up on him, and then more players have space. So yes, part of the system is individual quality, but a lot of it is thanks to Chris Wilder and Alan Neil creating such good tactics, such good passing patterns, such a good defence as well, to be winning the games. I feel like I've been a bit serious this video. If you got to this point, thank you very much. Let me know what you think of the tactical breakdown. Do you think the Blades will sustain it? I think that they will, providing that there's not too many injuries. That's a little asterisk point to try getting in there. Subscribe to the channel whilst you're here as well. I'm pushing 2K. I hit 1,000 a couple of weeks ago really, and we're doing really well, so keep around whilst you're here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.